Hello, my name is Cody Yarbrough, and I'll be covering the Toledo War for my Nano History project. So, the Toledo War wasn't really an all out war, but instead a heated time between Michigan and Ohio that nearly erupted to war. The causes of the Toledo War actually date back to 1787 with the Northwest Ordinance, a document that outlined how territories east of the Ohio River should be conducted and governed. The ultimate goal was to turn these territories into states, not less than three nor more than five. The document also stated that the northeastern part of this territory will have its border drawn at the bottom of Lake Michigan, all the way through to the next body of water. This territory would become Michigan. Now, if we had followed what the document stated, this is how Michigan would look. However, it was hard to get an exact idea on where the border would be because this was the best map of the area at the time. While this map was horribly flawed, there was one state that this map benefited: Ohio. Remember, at this time, it was extremely difficult and expensive to move things on land, so people used boats instead. If the border was drawn off this map, Ohio would have exclusive access to Lake Erie and could become a trade hub and a gateway to the West. But when Ohio gained statehood in 1803, they were notified by fur trappers that Lake Michigan was much further down than they thought. Ohio, not wanting to lose too much of the land that they thought they had, drew their state line a few miles north of the Maumee Bay, which was an important trading area. However, when Michigan became a territory in 1805, they drew their borders based off the southern part of Lake Michigan, and the borders overlapped. Both Ohio and Michigan hired surveyors to go out and prove that their claim was right. And both sets of surveyors came back with information that supported their own state's claim. But because Ohio was a state and Michigan was only a territory at the time, Ohio's border was accepted as the official U.S. survey. Michigan, however, decided to ignore this and drew their borders south of Maumee Bay regardless. This zone of overlapping borders became known as the Toledo Strip and was ran by the Michigan government despite Ohioan protest. Until 1833, when Michigan obtained the 60,000 citizens they needed to apply for statehood. Ohio was able to persuade Congress not to let Michigan become a state until they settled their border dispute with them. At this point, there had been so many surveyors that had been through the Michigan territory that it was known by everyone, including Ohio, that Michigan was right. John Quincy Adams even supported Michigan, saying, "Never in the course of my life have I known a controversy of which all right is so clearly on one side and all the power is so overwhelmingly on the other." Despite all this, Ohio still held to the claim that the Toledo Strip was rightfully theirs, and that Michigan should hand it over, and they refused to negotiate on the matter. This standoff between Michigan and Ohio lasted until 1835, when the Michigan governor, 23-year-old Stevens T. Manson, or the Boy Governor, had had enough of Ohio's disrespect and sent a militia led by General Joseph Brown to enforce the Pains and Penalties Act. Ohio responded by sending more officials to survey the strip, thus beginning the Toledo War. The Toledo War wasn't actually a military conflict, but rather a series of arrests made by Brown's militia and other Michigan officers. The only battle, if you could call it that, was the Battle of Phillips on April 26, 1835, in which Brown and his men encountered a group of surveyors and fired warning shots above their heads and proceeded to arrest 9 of them. And the height of this war was on September 17th, 1835. The Ohio governor announced that he was going to have a meeting in Toledo to affirm Ohio's claim to the Toledo Strip. The boy governor heard about this meeting and amassed a militia of 1,200 men and descended on the Toledo Strip to go arrest everyone there. But when they had arrived where the meeting was set to take place, they found that the Ohioans had met the night before and had fled before the Michiganders got there. At this point, President Andrew Jackson had been fed up with Governor Manson's militancy and decided to intervene. Jackson removed Manson as governor, disbanded his militia, and let Michigan statehood and the Toledo Strip be left in the hands of Congress. However, the Ohioans refused to cooperate at all, and eventually, Michigan, desperate for statehood, gave up the Toledo Strip. The bright side for Michigan was that they were given 9,000 square miles of Upper Peninsula as compensation, where they would find plenty of iron, timber, and copper that would give a huge boost to Michigan's trade. So who won the Toledo War? Well, if you judge the victor based off of who got Toledo, then Ohio won. But if you base it off who got the most out of the conflict, then Michigan won, considering that they became a state, added 9,000 square miles to their land, and hit the jackpot of resources.